Disney is now back with its latest live action adaptation of a animated classic that some folks really do rank amongst their favorites of all time, which means people are going to be really critical on this one. But fear not, I have a lot of good things to say as we jump into my review of the new film, Lilo and Stitch. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're going to be reviewing the new film Lilo and Stitch, which is available right now in theaters. So I did get to check this one out early. I am a little late to this review. I was under the weather, but it's okay. I totally had to get in front of you all to talk about this one. Now, before we go any further, the 2002 animated film Lilo and Stitch is 100% one of the classics, one of the greats. And with the live action, which everybody's always asked, did we need it? Is it better? You know, did it do it justice? The one thing I think Disney consistently does with their live action remakes, or whatever you want to call it, is they make sure that they still continues to service both measures of media. Whether you are talking about Aladdin and you're talking about the play, or whether you talk about Lion King and you're talking about, you know, the animated film, there's still value in watching all of them. And yes, I think Lion King may be the only one I can say really attempted to do a one-for-one, but all the other ones sort of take their own spin, so the fact that you can still appreciate them both. And that's the same thing with this, is that there's definitely things that they changed about the animated Lilo and Stitch. There's things that they went a little bit deeper on, but you still would appreciate them both. So like, if you love the 2002 animated film, it's okay. You will like this one. You will appreciate this one in a different light, but you also will still continue to love the original that even made you interested in watching this one in the first place. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is, when I think about some of the best marketing films of recent, I think Barbie, I think Deadpool Wolverine, and I think Lilo and Stitch. Because Stitch, I mean, I'm trying to tell you, and folks at Disney, if you're watching, please sell the posters. All of the posters of Stitch sort of invading these other film properties and other classic posters, like the Thunderbolts one. I need them all. And there's so many good ones. I've seen the Aladdin one. I've seen the Cinderella one. I've seen the Snow White one. I mean, none of them are safe from Stitch, and he's such an annoyance, but I love it. And I also will say, as my third thing before we get into the review, as an adult, I got to say, Stitch is so bad in this. Like, he's such a nuisance that you kind of get a little irritated with his antics, but they did and I think this is what's great. The kids are going to love it across the board, but I think what's great about it from an adult set of eyes is that he becomes such a nuisance, and then you get annoyed. You're just thinking, like, how much more terror can he cause? To the point that, like, all the emotional connection, the measure of empathy you have for him, the love you grow throughout the film, I think it's a story in its own. And that's not the story of this film, but I do think understanding that this creature, who is basically displaced, was sent out to be exiled, and now found somebody else who's also looking for a best friend, and the fact they're able to find that sort of camaraderie amongst one another, they become best friends, but ultimately it becomes family, is a beautiful story. I love it, and that's just from the Stitch standpoint. So that to say, Lilo and Stitch, I enjoyed this film. I'm not going to go as far as saying this was the best live action film, because I don't think the bar was pretty high in the first place, but I definitely think it's a huge step forward for Disney. I will also be one to say that I didn't have an issue with Snow White the way how some of you all did. But this was definitely one I don't think is going to have any issues with grabbing the hearts of the mass majority of folks going out there to look for the film to watch this weekend. And I definitely think you should. Now, getting into the film now, this is definitely my biggest criticism. I feel Disney has been pretty cheap on their animation to live action sort of continuity, if I must say. Because when you talk about live action, you obviously want to see, like, these characters from animated brought to live action, and how does it look? And it still is a measure of CGI needed, but you wanted to look as practical as possible, right? And then with that, you also have practical acting, practical settings involved. And the blend of it, I definitely think is the most critical part of the production in terms of enjoying the film. What I have seemed to have noticed with Disney is that when it comes down to these live action, when the need of the CGI, which it's got to be one of the biggest dumps of money needed in order to make the film, to complete the film in post-production, obviously. But I thought they tried to avoid a lot of them being blended in together. So to say, the first part of this film is definitely all animated. The second part of this film is all practical. The third part of the film is the blend of them two. And I think that is done for a reason. To avoid costs, to avoid having to spend extra money in terms of it. And I don't think this is the first film that I've noticed this with. And I also think when it comes down to the extent of how they can make things look, I sometimes feel like they take the shortcut with it. I think Little Mermaid, and I've said this to a couple of folks, I think Little Mermaid, all the aquatic stuff, it looked cool, but then you look at Avatar, you're like, well, okay, if that's how you can do it, then why aren't we always trying to hit that target? And I get that James Cameron is a whole nother beast of a director, but at the end of the day, it still falls under Disney. And if you know that it's possible and the technology's there, why aren't we aiming for that? So a lot of people didn't like Little Mermaid because they said it didn't look good. Well, I think we thought that because we just saw Avatar. And he's like, well, that's how it's supposed to look, or that's the possibilities of how it could look. So with this, I gotta say, I like them in their own separate portions of the film, but when they finally came all together, I'm looking like, why didn't we do a lot more of this? I wanted to see the blend of it. I wanted to see how Stitch looks like in the real world, and across from Lilo, and have a lot more of those moments. But they definitely went from the first act, all animated Lilo, second act, Stitch, practical, and Nani, and then the third act was blended together, where you started to see the live action, or the live actors along with Stitch with CGI and other folks, and you're just like, oh, okay, I guess we are going to kind of do this finally, you know what I mean? So I definitely think they tried to avoid that by any means. I guess I should talk about what this film is about. Lilo is a Hawaiian girl who just wants a friend. Stitch is a experimental creature who was exiled to Earth, and from an unlikely chance that they meet each other to become best friends and ultimately becomes family. Now, beyond that too, you also have Nani and Lilo, who are sisters who have lost their parents. So there's a measure of grieving, but there's also a measure of responsibility by Nani to take care of her little sister, who is, I would say, sort of dealing with the loss of her mother in her own way. And Nani is also trying to survive by also dealing with the loss of their parents in another way, by also having to step up to be a parent. So you do see the camaraderie amongst these two sisters, as it is them against all the other things that are coming their way. Not to mention now a creature from space is at their door that Lilo absolutely loved, but it is causing nothing but trouble for Nani. So Sydney, who plays Nani, she does a fantastic job. And Maia, who plays Lilo, this little girl is a future star. If not, we might as well just throw the star on her right now. But I definitely expect a lot of big and bright things in her future. I would even say a sequel, because we know how Lilo and Stitch is and how much more the story can go. But I loved her performance, and I love Sydney's performance too. The only thing I will say is that I wish, in terms of really building that emotional toll that they're experiencing by not having their parents, I wish we had went into that just a little bit deeper, because I think that connection would have helped in other areas a lot more, especially softening up the terror that Stitch goes on while he's on Earth. But I do think they did a really good job in displaying the two sisters and them trying to work out a relationship with one another, because they are sisters. But in a way, Lilo has to look at Nani as a parent figure, and that's not something she ultimately wanted to inherit, but here we are. And I do think that, it is, it's important to really understand these human dynamics before we start to bring anything else into it. And I just wish they had delved a little bit deeper into the grieving aspect. But I definitely love the sister aspect. They nailed that to the T. Other people that was definitely standouts in this was Courtney B. Vance. He was Cobra Bubbles. He's the agent out here trying to find this alien that has landed on Earth, which means he is trying to get Lilo away from get Stitch away from his best friend Lilo, and he has his very particular ways. Let me just say that Zach and Billy Magnussen, they're fantastic, both in their practical forms and in their alien forms. What a treat! Wasn't expecting that, but they were very, very good. You're going to have a ton of laughs with them. And across the board, I just thought the casting and all was just done very well. Every character for every little moment that they had, I thought they definitely invoked the human spirit into their characters, but also just really understand. And then one thing I will say from somebody who has visited Hawaii multiple times, just really cultivating that Hawaiian Polynesian culture and putting that on screen. And I love the fact that I got to see places I had actually visited in real life, as some of the set locations that they use. So like seeing that and knowing how I felt in those situations and visiting in those areas and seeing how that's being portrayed through acting on screen, authentic. And these people are of Hawaiian descent, Polynesian descent. So like, of course it's easy for them to go out there and put it on display. So I say all that to say, I love the representation in this. They nailed it. They did the casting right. And you feel that culture alive and well on screen here. So they 100% nailed that. I think with this, though, again, you're going to see calls to the animation. You're going to see things that could have, potential implications for the future. I'm talking like if we're doing a sequel, they definitely had some little Easter eggs and stuff in there as well too. Again, I thought that Maia as Lilo, this young girl is fantastic. She carried the film. She's so cute, so charismatic. Gave you the array of emotions. I thought that for her script that she gave for her character, she nailed it. She had sass when needed, wit when needed, but also was a kid when she had to be as well too. And then you had a credit scene, which is it's definitely a start for something beyond this, which we all hope, and I thought this film was okay. I enjoyed this film, but I really, really, really do think by sequel, this could really be the best live action from animated franchise. Like, I do think this was a great swing out of the gate, and I definitely think as they continue to build on this, because it'll be a shame that this was the only one. I think it's going to do pretty good. I definitely think the sequel is going to do so much more better in terms of really moving this story along. So Lilo and Stitch, without a brainer, without a doubt, a no-brainer that if you were interested in this, I'm sure you're already on your way to the theaters. But if you were hesitant by any means, go check this out. You're going to have a laugh. You may shed a few tears, but you will feel the heart and essence of the Hawaiian Polynesian culture. But you also will just see a story about family, two girls, sisters trying to make a way, when it seems like every direction they look, they're just getting doors slammed in their face, opportunities going the other way. And then you have Stitch, who's just causing terror, but ultimately you come around on him. You start to feel, the innocence in him, but you gotta be on guard because he's still very much chaotic. He's fun, he's smart, he's calculated, but he definitely means well because he loves him some Lilo, and he's gonna do whatever he can to protect his family. So check it out, folks. Jump in the comments once you do. And as always, stick around for more reviews and content here at Big Go Build Media very soon. Thank you for watching, folks.